All right, we're back. Look, we're being productive. So we just finished recording part 2 of our healing series, and decided, we got extra time. Let's go on ahead and and do part 3, because why not? So, Sophia, welcome to this journey called Life podcast with Sherna, Shitty Shay, and all right, y'all. Look, so while we were paused, we started talking about some things, right? And then Spirit said we were going to talk about some things, and so then the thing that came up, we touched in it. We got like, well, I'm the loud one, and so I laughed real high, real loud, and was like, I had mouth wide open and all that stuff, and I was like, glad we're not recording, because I think that would have been too loud. Like, but y'all might get that from time to time too. So go ahead and prepare your ears ahead of time, because I ain't editing nothing. Y'all want to get it raw? Want to get it real? We done already told. So this portion, we're talking about crashing out. All right, excuse the snort. But anyways, having someone come at you sideways and you not crash out, and being able to identify when a crash out isn't time with, I got stuff on the screen, small-minded people, right? So Ty is going to do us the honors in giving us the definition of crash out.
Yeah. So, crash out is indeed a Gen Z slang that we definitely see quite often, especially on social media. And some kids actually, say it a lot. But I definitely want us to understand the definition of words, and you will get that throughout our podcast. So, crash out is a slang popular on TikTok and with Gen Z, meaning to become suddenly, uncontrollably angry, enraged, or distressed. It describes an emotional outburst, meltdown, or acting impulsively, often due to severe burnout or stress. It can also refer to losing one's temper in a destructive way. Some of the synonyms that's related to the word or the phrase crash out is meltdown, freak out, losing it or losing one's temper, going nuts, going insane, raging, falling off the handle, or ultimately acting recklessly, impulsively. So, in our last episode, we brought up quite a few examples of emotional intelligence, and crash out is the total opposite of that, right? So, in the healing journey and the process of healing, you do identify emotional regulation in that process. So, once you have begun to heal, that scenario is going to come back. It's going to test how much you have healed, right? And so, this is what this episode is truly about. Recognizing when not to crash out, or recognizing if you should. And because I love the way my dear sister goes into these conversations, I'm passing the mic so we can indeed get into it and talk about it.
All right. So last episode, I did mention, I mentioned the toddler that couldn't, the example of the toddler that couldn't fit the square block into the circle block, and they had no tantrum and thought throwing shit. Okay, look, check it. This episode might have a little more profanity in it than previous one, but follow me. Okay, don't get stuck on the wrong words. Okay. All right. So it's 11:11. So look, I can recall several times situations where I crashed out. Look. And it wasn't always because somebody said no, or I wasn't getting my way, so to speak, with another person. It was, I may have misplaced something. And I remember where I usually sit the object that I was looking for. And I went back and it wasn't where I left it. And of course, I had someone else living in the house with me, whether it was a significant other or children, right? And so I knew, because it wasn't where it was supposed to be, that someone had moved it. Okay? So I would then, instead of taking a moment to breathe, because when I would have the crash out, it will be because I was leaving to go take care of something and I was now in a mindset of rushing because time is winding down, right? And I need to get there and I can't find the thing that I'm looking for, that I need for the place that I need to be, right? Maybe I done tore up a many of them. A many of them. Those crash outs was, wow. You know why? Because I gotta clean that shit. And I would come back and I would look at it and I'd be like, I don't want to be bothered. And I pretend that I didn't see it. And then I couldn't think straight no more because my space was in total physical chaos. I do not feel that it is any different from having it where other people are actively involved. So check it. You're in a relationship. You feel like you're being transparent. You're being honest. You're telling them what your needs are, what you want, blah, blah, this, that, and the third. And then they're in turn sharing whatever they're sharing. But you know something that they don't know you know. Right? Because you're intuitive. You pick up on things. You pick up on the slightest changes, difference in movement, how they talk to you, how they act around you. You're noticing that phones are now being set face down, and that was abnormal before because everything was done in the open. And this is just an example. I mean, it happened, but this is just an example, right? So now you're asking certain questions because you want them to be honest with you. I can deal with honesty better than lies. Sometimes people feel like if they lie, that means that they love you more, they care about your feelings. Let's take it a step back. If you care about somebody, love them, you know that the lie is going to hurt them more than the truth because you have not broken that trust. I mentioned before that I used to be a very prideful individual. I was right. Everybody else was wrong. How I used to carry. That was what I thought. Right? Because nobody knows more than me but me about my situation. All lies. But sometimes, so okay, because I was in a place of ego, I was prideful. I would ask certain questions and watch them lie, and I would just smile, and they thought I believed them until some more things came up. Here's the thing, for me, because in those type of situations, I chose not to crash out Because I can't make you think that you're more important, that I care, right? I can't make you think that I care about you more than you obviously care about me, because you doing some foul shit behind my back and think that I don't know, right? So I would just let you sit in your stuff. Why didn't I just leave? I don't know. Prove a point. What point was I trying to prove? It depended on the situation of the person. Was it worth it? 9 times out of 10, no. Um, but it was just something about not wanting to be wrong or proving somebody who gave me a warning about something that I ignored to be right. We didn't want that. Toxic. Just toxic. Toxic. For no real reason.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I could. Because I was also vindictive. Baby. Because when my mind got to working, I realized in replaying this that was my crash out. My crash out was very intentional, very planned, and it didn't look like how you see on social media and folks be out there just a fighting and carrying on and all that good stuff. So back in the day, because I provided so much in my relationship as far as comfort, freedom, things of that nature, right? And freedom in a sense of they got trust without ever earning it. And because I was also dealing with second guessing myself, that allowed them. I've been called gullible before. First of all, I ain't gullible for shit, but I've been called gullible. That word rubbed me a kind of way once I looked that shit up and was like, hold up. This
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you really smelling yourself, ain't you? But anyways, um, I knew what I brought to the table, right? Not that it was something that I bragged about. It was just that I allowed a person to be who they were, right? Without judging them. I accepted them as they are. Even if I got the short end of the stick. I cannot recall why I did that. Maybe it had to do with not wanting to be alone. That could have been it. That could have been it. It could also be because I hadn't at that point experienced the type of love that I didn't have to give something for, if that makes sense. This is my heart and everything that I have. Love me, please. I didn't understand that I shouldn't have to work so hard to receive love, right? So I will offer up everything. Man, we just dating, but I'm wife material, baby. I will serve you. Go on ahead, sit down. I make your plate. I do this, I do that. And I accepted that. So, anyways, like I said, my crash out would look different compared to the others that you see on social media. It was planned. And I knew that the person that had ill intentions that I was in a relationship with at the time, and this is not just one person in particular, this is different, all the different experiences that I've had. Just summarizing them all up because we'll be all day trying to go through each one. But I knew that what I provided for them that they needed from me, I knew how to take it back and wreck their whole life in the process. Right? I knew how to do that. That was my thing. I knew that once I pulled my energy back from them, they would be devastated. And that devastation that they experienced would be way worse than what they were doing to me. Way worse. Because they learned to depend on it. And once you learn to depend on something that you don't deserve, once that shit is taken away, you don't know how to breathe afterwards, right? I knew that was my toxic superpower. I know you like the back of my own hand. And I could rip your whole life apart if I wanted to. I said I'm not perfect. I said I was going to be transparent and honest. I said I was going to be vulnerable. This is called taking accountability for your choices. Because I made some choices and I took some actions. Do I still use that? No, I don't use that tactic. However, I know that person, I know that person very well because I lived that person for a very long time before I started getting my shit together and putting boundaries in place and not allowing people to play in my face. So now I don't have to, what I say, identifying when a crash out isn't worth your time. So listen, where I am today, I don't need a crash out. One, you're not going to get that access to cause me to have to come out of my character that I have worked so hard in correcting, right? And coming from a place of love. I'm honest with you. I'm straightforward with you. I don't speak in riddles. I don't leave room for you to be confused about anything that I'm saying. I said what I said. That's how I communicate now. So no one can be confused about my intention. So if you are confused with my intention, that means that your intentions are. So when the crash out is taking place at that point, it's your crash out. I'm chilling. I sleep very well at night.
Right.
In my bed, next to my wife, with a smile on my face. Like this. I'm good. um, but it wasn't easy getting to this space, I promise you. I promise you. There were times where I would sit and relish in watching the person who I pulled my specialness from suffer. I would sit. When I say relish, maybe I would roll around in it. Oh, I would enjoy the energy that came from that, watching the demise, or well, not demise, but the breaking down of the loss that they had by doing me wrong. Okay. I don't anymore. Now I just wish them well and send them on their way. Wish you well. But leave me alone. Keep my name out your mouth. No, ain't no problems with me. Right? And how I learned that it's not worth it to crash out is I would be so tired afterwards. Oh my God, girl, I'd be so freaking exhausted and not understanding why I was so exhausted. You want to know why you're so exhausted? Because your intention is ill. When you want bad things or wish bad things on other people or you relish in someone's downfall, that shit that's not good. That, I mean, don't get me wrong. Some people make choices that require them to deal with certain consequences. However, let them deal with the consequences. you ain't gotta relish in it. Just go on about your business, live your best life, right? Because man, that exhaustion, I don't ever want. That type of exhaustion doesn't allow you to think clearly for yourself, function well. It causes, well, at least for me, it caused me to be in my ego in a sense of I didn't give two flies about anybody at that time because I'm too busy relishing in the downfall of the person that did me wrong. So essentially, I'm not happy. I'm not happy that they're going through a hard time. I'm not happy that things aren't, going the way they planned. I'm not happy in my life or with me enjoying what they're going through because guess what? I still feel that shit. I feel all of their frustration, all of their chaos. I feel it all. You want to know why? Because I was connected in one way and then I switched it to a totally negative perspective. And negativity will drain the hell out of you in a way that it is so difficult to come back from. Believe it or not. When I went to therapy, and I've been in therapy on different occasions, I've had some different therapists, all helped me. But when I went to therapy, you hear some people, they go and they talk about what happened to them, but they don't talk about what they did. I had to talk about what I did. You know why? Because it comes up. And a good therapist is going to challenge you in your session if they mean well by your healing experience, right? A good therapist is going to say, well, what did you do when that person did that? How did it make you feel? What was your response or reaction to it? There's a difference between the two words. My therapist would always bring me back to me. That's what they're supposed to do, a good one. That's what they're supposed to. My therapist never wanted to throw drugs at me. There's a ton of experience I can share at another time, but my therapist never wanted to throw drugs at me because drugs simply numb the issue. It never allows you to actually, some drugs, it doesn't allow you to actually deal with the trigger to the reaction. It just, it just numbs you out. And that's not always good because, as we've mentioned in previous episodes, right? Scenarios, they repeat themselves until you learn the lesson. And if you stay stuck on the same lesson over and over again, you're not living. Yes, operating in insanity, right? Anyways, my crash outs, like I said, they were silent. They were very intentional. They were very well planned out in my head. And I wrote things down. And I would execute them. And with every execution, the hit would be harder with each step. And the more I kept executing, the more exhausted I was. It's like, I don't know if y'all have ever experienced what it feels like to have like your soul just leave your whole person. Baby, that's the best description I could give. Or we crash out. It don't work out in my favor. We gotta do something different. It don't work in my favor. Conversations. We were talking between the two recording sessions, right? And we mentioned how Kai said, damn it. Kai said, use the example of people trying to talk bad about us. There it was. That's what it was. Can you repeat that? See, I like when I share something, I like to share it back word for word. I like,
Yeah.
but so what she was saying was, you're always, as you go along your human journey, someone from your past who is still stuck in the old aspect of you will try to tear you down, right? But you know your journey. You know the steps that you've taken to heal and to change and make yourself better, right? So they can sit there and talk all that about what you used to do, and you sit there still just as calm as hell, right?
Right.
Just calm as it's not a good. Just sitting there calm, right? And you're like, okay, but you done did your healing. Because guess what? You're not gonna do what they saying. Yeah, that used to be me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It ain't me, right? It ain't me no more. I moved different. I have healed through that. But then the question is turned towards them. So where are you?
Yeah.
You
Yeah. Yeah. So
still me?
yeah.
Baby, my response was, well, you do not occupy any space in my day-to-day life. I still, you think about me all the time. I was the lesson that you need to learn. Happy till I still sleep. What was you about to say?
Yeah. As you know, I couldn't have repeated that from word for word. It wasn't gonna happen. It wasn't gonna happen. But we were talking about that, and I was sitting here. I love listening. I don't know if y'all have figured it out yet, but in our family, my sister is the storyteller. Okay, can remember detail for detail. All right, this brain, nah. I'm gonna give you the gist of what transpired. Something may trigger a memory of what was word for word, but me, not so much. But as my lovely sister continues to say, that I'm the calmer one of the two of us. I wasn't always calm.
Mm.
I wasn't always calm.
I did not believe that until she started telling me some of her stories. I was like, what?
I wasn't always calm. Life taught me um, how to regulate my emotions. Goes back to
Mm-hmm.
that emotional intelligence. And then I also took some classes about emotional intelligence. Believe it or not, it was professional classes that I took about emotional intelligence when it comes to leadership roles. And I was able to apply that method to my life. And so it assisted me in regulating my emotions. And I won't necessarily say that I was a crash out. I never was a crash out, but my crash out was always methodical. And what I said is what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
And then to this day, what I say is always what I mean. But I was precisional. Is that the right word? Precision? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
precision. And I'm also going to add this to the topic of discussion. While we were talking about healing, I'm going to just throw a little bit of the zodiac in there. We're water signs. Water signs are methodical. All right. So that's just a part of our DNA structure. Don't get me wrong. We do have different levels to to that crash out perspective, but um, we don't always necessarily freak out. We do might lose it just a tad bit, But when we do lose it, it's because we've been pushed to our limit, right? And it may not always have to be that particular scenario. It could be that particular person over time,
Mhm.
and because we haven't vocalized what was the stressor up front, because
Mhm.
we didn't know how to regulate our emotions and communicate and talk and not having to advocate for ourselves. All the things we've been talking about in this so far, um,
Mhm.
then you might have gotten a reaction or response that you wasn't prepared for because we have shown so much love up front. But
Mhm.
um, for me, I remember specifically when I was younger. I'm gonna take a step back as a child, and when I say child, I'm talking age group of middle school, high school, that kind of stuff. Um, I was always afraid of getting expelled from school, so I wouldn't speak up when it came to bullying and other kids, not necessarily teachers, but kids, because kids are cruel. Don't get it twisted. Kids are indeed cruel, because unfortunately they have cruel parents, or they have a neighborhood where they had to learn how to survive, and that requires standing up for yourself, right? But I was always afraid. I love school. School was able to give me the sanity I needed out of the chaos in the neighborhood. And I was afraid to get expelled, so I wouldn't respond the way my emotions were telling me to respond.
Mhm.
And then that changed.
Mhm.
I used to come home crying in middle school about being bullied with my mom. And, she would talk to me about it. And I got in high school and I said, F it. All right. In high school, that enough was enough. Ego stepped in. Ego was like, "Yeah, we're not doing this no more. This is insanity. You're going home stressed out about what's being said, and you're afraid you'll get expelled. That's why you're not responding the way you should be responding to protect yourself. But what we're gonna do now is go ahead and execute accordingly to what I say.
Mhm.
All right. So I let ego step up front.
Mhm.
Let's just say I had a name for myself, and I bullied the bully. All right. I said what I said. I meant what I said, and I was standing 10 toes down by myself, not a crew,
Right.
just me, myself, and I.
And she
And
short. She short.
yeah, I am. I think I'm the shortest kid that I got. But
Say the oldest daughter is the
yeah,
shortest.
that's what they
Hey.
say. That's what they say. But yeah, I came through, and my if when I responded that way, everyone was like, "This is not typical behavior of her." You're right. You're absolutely correct. But if I'm here, that's because I done got pushed to the limit, and now I'm ready to. We gonna deep dive. I I I'm letting it all air out, and I'm letting it all air out with precision. You feel me? No lies. I don't give a damn about your feelings. I don't give a damn about your past. This is where we're at. And I mean
Mhm.
every single word. And I'm ready to back up all of them. Every last one of them.
Mhm.
I'm looking you dead in your eye when I'm talking, face to face.
Mhm.
You rah on the phone, I'm pulling up. Sure. What you said? What you said? You know,
You you didn't hear me get in the car, did you? Because you was running your mouth. Okay.
yeah, right. But so I had to figure that thing out and figure out, what, it's not worth my time. And as you
Mhm.
begin to elevate and grow in life in general and start working on yourself and figure out why somebody triggered you that way. Because, at the end of the day, that BS lie about she said or he said, and, that's why well, you chose to, that's why well,
Mhm.
I didn't feel, disrespected. Okay, well, why do you feel that passionate about somebody who don't live with you? Why do you feel that passionate about someone who doesn't really know your story? That's because you
Mhm.
didn't feel like you could advocate for yourself in younger years, or you didn't feel or didn't know how to navigate, that emotional stressor that triggered you off of a word. And like my sister just said, that word gullible triggered her. So, certain words that you've heard growing up or things that someone said that from the people that you loved and cared about can trigger you. But you got to figure that out why the word trigger you. Now I'm at the stage in my life where I don't give a damn what you say. I am methodical. I think first. That's just a part of who I am as a person. And we were just talking about that in between the recordings, how my emotions don't necessarily lead first in situations. So don't get me wrong, at home, I'm all love all day, every day, but I'm still thinking about the
Mhm.
situation to decide the way I should navigate the conversation. So
Mhm.
I have to be more and more mindful of that when I'm outside of my house.
Mhm.
Because when you leave your home, your haven, where you do feel the love and the care and the understanding, you have to be able to mitigate stressors that come at you. And so there are times where I have to decide, am I going to say this thing? How am I going to say this thing? Um, or should I say anything at all?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
sometimes silence is the best recourse in certain situations. So um, I remember, I remember when I learned the moment I realized that I had some intelligence in stressful situations, because I can tell you when I did not allow my my intuition, that internal dialogue, to communicate with me and be able to verbalize and get my point across, I would black out.
Mhm.
Like I couldn't tell you what happened. People would
Mhm.
tell me what I did. I'm like, I don't remember that.
Mhm.
I didn't remember that. Like, it was literally like someone else stepped in and was like, yeah, I got it from here.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's wild. All right, that's wild. I remember
That's
one
wild.
time. That's wild. I remember one time when I was young. I was in high school. I think no, I might have been in school. I don't remember one of them. But I was still in age appropriate school system, and I was in the neighborhood. The reason why this sticks out for me is when I realized that, oh, I actually have ability to decide how to communicate, right?
Mhm.
Because at first you just think it's just a reaction. It's a reaction. Oh, I actually chose this time. I'm like, oh, I can control the way I communicate. The light bulb went off. So any other time, my mom ain't around. Let me just say, we're in the neighborhood. My mama is not at school with me. I'm actually in the neighborhood, but at school, I'm saying all kind of, right? My sister had came and told me it was something that was said in the neighborhood. And you gotta understand, my three older sisters, while I didn't grow up with brothers when I was with my mom, I didn't need them because they was they had a name. Name for them. Two of them had a name. All right, one was called Joe Frazier, and the other was called Muhammad Ali. All right, so that kind of gives you an understanding how two of them sisters was. So I didn't feel like I missed anything, but when I did meet my brothers, it clicked for me. It clicked for me. I felt whole. Me and my
Mhm.
daddy, I felt whole. But going back to the situation, so my sister came in the room, was like, "Hey, you know, I heard this something said, you know better, blah 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 blah." I'm like, what's she talking about? Like I'm confused because I was really the kind of person that was truly the loner, and I didn't have a lot of friends, and I did a lot of reading, and I stayed in my room a lot of the times, and because of the BS that I was was going on in school, you know, picking and poking and prodding, and you being the quiet one, people think that you can't defend yourself, whatever the case may be. And at the end of the day, all I want to do is just go to school because that was my safe haven. And they thought because of all that I couldn't protect myself, and those were lies. So, um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, when sister came in the room and said all the things that she said, I'm hot now. I'm upset. Okay, I'm upset.
Mhm.
So when it transpired, I went outside, and ego took place. Ego ran. Ego was like, "Yeah, we're gonna confront the situation up front and personal,"
Mhm. Mhm.
and that's what I did. And I did it with the coming out like boop, 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 boop. I'm saying the things, and my mother was
Mhm.
right behind me. My mother was right
Mm.
behind me the entire time, and because I knew that she was there, I was careful with my words, but I still got my point across. And that was the moment that I realized I had the ability to control what I said, how
Mhm.
I said it, which
Mhm.
means there was zero profanity taking place in my
Gotcha.
execution. Okay.
Mhm.
But I got my point across. And my
Mhm.
sister, who had just came in the room, was pulling up at the end of the road, and she was like, she said my whole name because, I ain't gonna say it here. She said my whole name. She was like, go home. It's all right. Don't worry about it. And my mama was right
Mhm.
here because they knew the type of crash out I could be.
Mhm.
And what I say, I'm executing upon. That's one thing about me. I never say things that I don't mean. I'm not that kind
Right.
of person because I do navigate in the space of love. And I want to continue to do that. So it's not a hard thing to do. It's about still protecting yourself and advocating for yourself so that people understand who you are and how they should treat you, right? You
Mhm.
still have
Mhm.
to love yourself in every situation. And when you love yourself, it shows in your boundaries. Your
Mhm.
boundaries they are there to protect you and how you navigate life. They are not for others. They are to tell others how you want to be treated. So if you are telling someone that you don't play about that situation or play about you, they'll know how far to go with you. And yes, you have to execute on that. Yes. So if
Mhm.
you tell someone, hey, if you can't respect this boundary, I am going to have to remove you from my life. You have to follow through on the removal. You follow through on the removal.
Absolutely.
So if someone is triggering you to crash out, remove their ass. That's it. That's all.
That's
It
it. That's all.
doesn't matter what their title is to you. Because
Mhm.
unfortunately, family will hurt you worse than a stranger on the street. You know why? Because
Yeah.
you love them. Because you love them.
Mhm.
And while we know that love is not meant to hurt, that means they're not moving from a space of love. You got to remember
Yes.
that. So,
Mhm.
this whole emotional intelligence thing that we talk about, and then, the opposite end of that is crashing out. Unfortunately, it all boils down to you and how you navigate stress, right?
Mhm.
So, um, fast forward as an adult, I'm going to tell this situation that transpired for me. Um, my firstborn, that's my rider, right? Um, the situation with her biological father wasn't necessarily a pretty one, and he wasn't a stranger to me or my family. We grew up together. We grew up together. Like it wasn't either, you know, like it's not like I don't know who you are kind of situation. So this individual knew how I could crash out. Um, let's just say When that relationship ended, it was a benefit for the both of us.
Mm-hmm.
But it taught me a lot. It taught me my boundaries. It taught me limits on what I would accept and what I wouldn't accept. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it also required me to engage, uh, what do you call it? I guess the government. Is that the best way for me to explain that? Authorities. That's the word. Authorities. That's the word I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for. To engage authorities. And when I engaged the authorities, it wasn't for me. It was to protect him from me. Let me be clear. Um,
His.
and it worked. It worked. It benefited
Mm-hmm.
the both of us for me to do that because you're not gonna keep doing this
Mm-hmm.
and not expect there to be repercussions from you talking from ego.
Mm-hmm.
So while today I can have a casual conversation if necessary, if required, if needed, but there isn't one because I needed the relationship to be between parent and child, not parent and
Mm-hmm.
parent. So
Right.
I can say today that that conversation is much better than it was before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it don't matter. I'm not in the equation. I did my part. My
Yeah.
part was to give birth, to
Mm-hmm.
raise. That's what I did. And that was the most beneficial part that I could probably do. So with like again, with having someone trigger you and decide, what you can do about it and navigate that space, honestly about understanding who you are as a person
Mm-hmm.
and understanding when you should even say anything at all. Um, Standing true to your boundaries and to the results of someone surpassing that boundary out of disrespect, and making sure that you're able to communicate that effectively without having to allow someone to trigger and control your emotions. When you continuously have someone else control your emotions, you don't have control of your life. It's not okay. It's not okay. So that's really what I wanted to share. Because now, here, me, the person you see in front of you, nothing, nothing can control my reaction other than me. I
Right.
take full accountability for that. I take full accountability for that. And if you ever hear or see me acting outside of my character, I chose to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Not because someone triggered me, but because I was prepared for the outcome of me having to react or to respond outside of who I am. I
Mm-hmm.
take full accountability and responsibility for what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that.
Yes. Several things came up. So I do recall one situation that came up while you were talking. And this is when I realized that I had to completely remove this person from my life. When I say completely remove, any pictures, any letters, any text messages, any social media attachments whatsoever had to be, I had to block them in every which way, shape, or form because it wasn't safe for them anymore. I had been on my healing journey for quite a while. I started it actually intentionally started my healing journey while I was with that person. And they tested the wrong version of me. And so a situation happened. All right, nosy Nancy's. I'm not gonna. If I go into a whole bunch of specifics, it's gonna be too long and drawn out. Okay, so bear with me, right? But let's just say I sat in a parking lot waiting for a certain individual to come out of a house that they did not belong in, based off of a conversation they had with me for over an hour. When said individual came out of the apartment building that they were in, I walked over to I pulled up, blocked their car in, and I walked over to their door, opened it, smiled, and told them I would meet them at home. When they got home, something flipped in me, because I've never done anything like this before. Like I said, y'all, pride can't make nobody feel like they that important, right? But something flipped in me. And on the way home, I checked out. But not in a sense of not being able to recall. Oh, I remember what happened. But my logic checked out. And baby, when I tell you that was it for me, I said, oh, we can't move like this. This ain't cool. That person had been blocked. Once they came home, we had a conversation. And some things took place. I didn't put my hands on them. I wanted to. But some things took place. And at that point, I was done. There wasn't no reconciling. There wasn't no, let's, try to make it work. Maybe couples counseling. None of that shit. None of that. I was over it. There was a child that they came to the table with. I loved that child dearly. I did. But I had to remember that's not my child. Their mother was responsible for them. And I had to distance myself. That broke my heart. But that's the one that called me gullible. Gullible means easily persuaded to believe something. If I'm a woman of my word, I expect you to be a person of your word. And so it wasn't about being persuaded. It was more so about, I'm taking you at your word. You said this. I'm holding you accountable to what you said. You're showing me this, though. That's the difference. See, people use the word wrong. I'm giving you a chance to deliver on what you said. Not that I'm just believing it all willy-nilly and forgetting everything. No, I'm taking notes. Trust me, my pen is writing in the back of my head and it's on the back burner simmering because I'm going to allow you enough rope to hang yourself. And that's what she did. She hung herself. Not in a literal sense, but that's what caused her to be cut off. And for her safety, I too had to get the authorities involved and have her removed. Because play with somebody else. I heard you. If a person knows what you have been through and then they make the choice to do the same shit that you didn't already told them that you went through that you didn't want to do, that's a disrespect for my boundaries. Motherfucker. Play with somebody else. Because you need to do something safe. This ain't safe. Play with somebody else. Now, see, there was another situation where Spirit had to get involved, and I thank them every day for this because, baby, me today would have had a person wishing they were dead. Okay. There was another situation that took place before that one that I just explained or just referenced, where there was a recent breakup, but we had a lot of time left on our lease. We should try to make it. But neither one of us wanted to mess up our credit. So this other person, they bought someone into the house. Asked politely, hey, we're doing our separate things, but can we at least respect the house that we share, this apartment that we share, this space that we share? Can we agree to not bring any other parties into the home? Because we gotta figure this contract that we are in. Someone was brought into the house by the other party. Total disrespect. That's disrespect. Total disrespect. So as one of my stepsisters said, you need to get out of that house. I said, okay. She said, come stay with me for a while. I did that. I talked to the rental office and started my plan to leave the house because I couldn't deal with that. Because we have history, baby. I'm still working through my emotions. Breakups and that ain't how I function. I love you hard, right? That ain't how I function. But anyway, so there was a time that I came back to the house and I thought that no one else was going to be there. But when I tell you Spirit was involved, baby, let me tell you. The plan was set in my head. And as soon as I was about to execute, Spirit said, let me be more specific. Obatala, the king of the white cloth. I love him dearly. And I thank him for saving me from messing up my life because I wanted that chick, right? So I heard a voice I heard his voice and he said, if your foot touches the floor, I cannot save you. Which means the plan in my head that I thought was going to work was not going to save me. It was not going to save me. Listen, I had to pee so bad. Bladder was full. I had to stay in that bed the whole night. The whole night until the next morning. Because that voice just kept saying, do not let your foot touch the floor. I cannot save you if your foot touches the floor. Once some people left the apartment, I was able to get up and go relieve myself. I had to move out. I didn't care what it would do to my credit. I didn't care how it would look on my rental history. None of that. I had to move. That was it for me. That was it. Because again, a switch flipped. Our choices affect our future. They affect our future. I could have been in jail for that situation for the rest of my life. Because I was thinking about taking too. That didn't belong to me. I had to think about my children and myself. Mind you, my children weren't there. But when we tell y'all these consequences, this healing, the choices that we make, it was just that calm voice that said, don't let your foot touch the floor. I cannot help you if your foot touches the floor. I will be living a different life right now. Y'all.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you. it wasn't just about protecting our future, it was about protecting her as well, because she wasn't going to breathe no more, nor was the person that she bought in the house. That's where the mental was. I'm telling you, people should not try, folks. You never know where a person is. You don't know how they're going to respond. You can't say how you'll respond in a given situation. You can't. I used to say, oh, just leave, just leave. It's not always that easy. You don't know where your mind is going to jump to in any given time. So when you start working on having that control, you start moving differently. And because I saw how that played out and that I did have a choice, I chose to listen to that voice, that very calm voice that said, your plan is not going to work. Don't touch it. That was my choice. I chose to listen to the voice. Sometimes we don't listen to that voice, and then we wonder why we got to deal with certain consequences.
Yeah.
So I know, in my experience, 3 lives were saved.
Yep.
One of them was innocent. She had nothing to do with the situation. She was in the wrong place and wrong time. You see what I'm saying? Like, be careful, y'all. Make a choice. Make a choice. Please. Beg you, make good choices. And don't sit there and say, oh, the devil made me do it. Shit. The devil just sitting there waiting and watching. What you gonna do?
Yep.
The devil, so to speak.
Yep.
Make wise choices. Choose courage. Choose to heal your broken pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Make better choices.
Absolutely.
You ain't got to crash out. Even if it's crash out can be silent, but deadly.
Yeah.
Or they can be out in the open, loud and chaotic.
Well,
Either way, control your crash out.
control your emotions.
Yes, thank you. Control your emotions, because there is. I don't. Crash out ain't always worth it. Ain't always.
Mm-mm.
Might make you feel better for like 2.3 seconds, but in the big scheme of things, it ain't worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm tired. Cut them off if they trying to cause you to crash. Just cut them off.
Let 'em go. Move on. It's not worth it. It's not worth
It's
it.
so not. Good
I,
time.
I think this will conclude and wrap up this episode.
Yes.
Uh, we've talked about a lot. We've given some examples of our life journey and what got us here and how we feel that we are much better people today, but it was indeed based on our life experiences. And unfortunately, they were not always good, but they were required for the growth that we needed in order to get us where we are today. And I believe that we are much better people because of those experiences. I think when you look back on life, you'll start recognizing when you're in a healing situation or a healing space, how those situations were vital. for you to get to where you are today. And it may not always been a good situation to be in, but damn did we not learn from it in
Mhm.
ways that benefited us tremendously, tremendously. Because while we're
Yes.
only giving you a couple of examples, there were so many more situations that we think that we want to be on the air still. So here we are, right? We gonna let you know when we knew when to call in help. We knew when to
Mhm.
call in help, and for us in those situations, the authorities were needed. They were needed.
Mm.
Um, and in my situation, I can assure you that those people, especially one specifically, actually came to me and apologized for the things that they put me through. And I've actually had that happen to me twice, where someone had came to me and apologized for the things that they put me through in those relationships. And I those apologies were not for me. They honestly
Mhm.
were not for me. They were for them in order for them to heal and move forward. And I recognized that, as I got older and replayed the conversations in my head, because, your spirit will replay situations and circumstances in your head for you to come back and review and say, hey, what did I learn from?
Mhm. Mhm.
And the growth, acknowledging the growth that you have experienced and be able to celebrate that win.
Mhm.
And now it's muscle memory.
Yes.
It's not a hard situation to try to navigate. It's muscle memory at this stage of the game. It's ingrained inside of you to know how
Mhm.
to navigate that type of situation or trigger that's no longer a trigger. It's not a trigger anymore.
Yep.
It is just a conversation
Mhm.
that you can truly navigate and know when to say, this has nothing to do with me. This is between
Mhm.
you and your maker.
Yeah.
It's when those people situations try to pull you in because they are hurting and you have
Mhm.
healed,
Mhm.
and
Impulsive.
you can look at them dead in your face and say, this has nothing to do with me. It's very obvious.
Mhm.
You need to work through this between you and your maker, and I'm good for saying that. Well, this is
Mhm.
between you and your maker. It's nothing to do with me because I know what I have said and done, and none of the things that I've said and done got you here. You need to heal for something that happened to you way back when. This is just something on top of it. That's between you and your higher power.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
suggest therapy to help you because I can't help you anymore.
Yeah.
And I move on. And I
Mhm.
literally move on. Like, yeah, I'm done. To the point where karma, I know is going to step in. When you have good intentions and what we like to call iwapele,
Yes. Good character.
good character,
Mhm.
when you
Mhm.
truly do lead with love and good intentions,
Mhm.
the blowback for the person who's trying to emotionally impact and harm you in a negative situation, it's not pretty. And just like my
Mhm.
sister said, choices has outcomes. And sometimes you have to allow that person's outcome lead them. And it may not be
Mhm.
pretty, but they need to learn the lesson.
Yep.
Because you can't save people from their lessons, but you can give them advice about their choice.
Mhm.
But what they do with that advice is their business. And I
Mhm.
think that's where you need to be able to navigate difficult situations when when you're dealing with loved ones, especially with
Yeah.
loved ones. I mean, a stranger on the street, I can't do nothing about that. But
Right.
what I won't allow you to do is to pull me out of my character. That's not my flaw. You got to leave
Mm.
like X ASAP. I'm not waiting. I, I don't wait. I ain't waiting about nothing. If once my discernment done clocked it, I hold you right at the door. That behavior ain't gonna fly over here. So if this is where you leading there, you can do it about face,
Mm-hmm.
and I can love you from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good for that one. But my intentions are always good. They're always positive. They're always with love, and I can love you from a distance. You do not have to be in my space for me to
That's
love
right.
you from a distance.
My peace will not be negatively impacted by anyone. I don't
Never,
care who it is.
never,
Not
never,
the free.
mm-mm,
Not
never,
even myself.
mm-mm, never, never. So, you know, this is what we had to share.
Yeah.
Uh, love this topic. I'm glad we took the opportunity to record the next one while we were still fresh off the cuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna wrap it up on this right here.
As always, y'all, thank you for joining. Look, if I loved you, I love you. Y'all enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whenever you're watching this. Comment, question, follow, share, all the things. Send us an email, TJCL Podcast@gmail.com. You can go to our website, TJCL Podcast.com. Follow us on IG at TJCL Podcast. Interact with us. We're waiting to hear from you, okay? We love y'all. So, journey of life continues one conversation at a time.
Let's talk about it.
Peace.